What is up, my Shadowverse soldiers, and welcome back to another Shadowverse Evolve video. Alright soldiers, in today's video we're going to be going over the Havencraft reveals for set 10. I'm very excited to see what's going to be going on in Havencraft because we did have the Amulet Haven deck, and I hear there's going to be like a smidge, just a smidge bit of Machina Haven support in this set, but I don't know what's exactly going to be coming out in this set because we know we have our Arcana stuff that's going to be coming out this set, and I wonder what the exclusive new advanced card for Havencraft is going to look like. So instead of just wondering, let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so looking at our first card, we have number 8, Sophina, Strength. So she's a 4 cost 2/5. You can evolve from 1 and she has Ward, and while this card is on your field, followers on your field can't take more than 3 damage at a time. Alright, so it's nice to see that the first Havencraft card we're looking at is going to have Ward, and on top of it, while it does have Ward, it can't take more than 3 damage. So the only way to really get rid of this in one fell swoop is to hard remove it if you're able to. Alright, so looking at Sophina's Strength evolve, so she turns into a 3/6, but she still has that same ability of Ward, and your followers can't take more than 3 damage. But on evolve, you search your deck for a Solminate Strength and put it onto your field, then shuffle your deck. Alright, so hoping that the Solminate Strength is something that's really going to apply because you're going to be getting the 2-for-1 here, and you know how we love the 2-for-1 on the channel, but being able to spend a total of 5 play points to swing into something and have a 3/3 Ward, which that also gets out the Solminate Strength, which can help potentially boost up this follower's stats. Alright, then next up we have number 10, Salus Wheel of Fortune. So it's a 2 cost 2/2, and when a card is put into your EX area, you engage this card, select enemy follower in the field, and destroy it. You can also spend an extra 2 play points when this follower comes in the field. You search your deck for a Wheel of Misfortune, put it into your EX area, then shuffle your deck. Alright, so this might be the Machina Haven stuff that we might be looking at. So being able to put repair modes into your EX area and then engaging this cards to go ahead and just destroy something is very useful. And then on top of that, being able to spend a total of 4 play points to get this card out and then searching deck for a Wheel of Misfortune to put into your EX area will also get you to engage this card and destroying another card as well. Alrighty, next up we have Reverend Adjudicator. So he's a 2 cost 2/2, and you can evolve him for 1. Alright, so let's look at the Reverend Adjudicator evolve. So he turns into a 3/3, but on evolve, you look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may put a follower with Ward from among them into your EX area, put the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. For the rest of this turn, that follower costs 1 less to play. Alright, so we're seeing a lot of value here. So multiple cards with the 2-for-1 value. So Reverend Adjudicator being a 2 cost that will evolve for 1 is very nice because when we go into 3 play points, you really want to start generating your value here. So I think in the War deck, this is definitely going to be your go-to 2 cost that's going to get you like a Snake Priestess that'll be cheaper. Or if you're able to just, put another Ward into your EX area and have a 3/3 up and pray that it does survive, because there are some instances where your 3/3 does survive and your opponent doesn't have the removal because they might be playing a little bit lower to the ground, who knows. But honestly, I think being able to get another card into your EX area, and then if you're playing the Ward deck, getting a Snake Priestess that'll be free and you can just ward it up and have a 3/3 as well is pretty nice. Oh, and next up we have Tazanite Convictor. So she's a 3 cost 2/4. She is Storm. At the start of your end phase, if this follower's attack is at least 3, refresh this follower. But when she comes into play, if there is a follower with at least 7 defense on your field, deal 4 damage each enemy follower on the field. Okay, so I want to admit that this is an absolutely beautiful card. So I think this might be my favorite card of the set so far. So Tazanite needs a reprint or something, an SP, because this absolutely looks beautiful. Alright, so this is actually a pretty decent card. Well, not only for the art that I love of it so much, but I think the abilities are pretty nice. So if you're rocking the Storm Ward Haven build, I think this is a good card to have maybe 1 or 2 of, just because this is going to be a card that's always going to have at least 3 less defense, or 3 less attack, with the MFS Lion buffing it if you're able to play both in the same turn. And then on top of that, having the Fanfare if your opponent's playing a big card, this is going to be a pretty nice board wipe for you. Alrighty, next up we have Solminate Strength. So it's a 2 cost amulet. When it comes into play, select it to 2 followers on the field and you give them +1/+1. You can also activate and use 1 play point to engage this card and bury this card. You can select enemy follower on the field and give it -2 attack. Alright, so it looks like this is going to be the card you're going to be getting off of the Sophina Evolve. So putting this into play is going to give 2 followers the +1/+1. With on top of that, your followers can't take more than 3 damage, which is going to be very helpful. But in those later turns, if you want to get rid of this amulet, you can use the 1 play point to subtract 2 to one of your enemy followers' attack. Alrighty, next up we have Topaz Swordian. So she's a 3 cost 2/3. You can evolve for 1 and she has Ward, but when she comes into play, you search your deck for a Bejeweled Shrine, put it onto your field, then shuffle your deck. You can also spend an extra 2 play points for when this follower comes into play to give this follower +1 attack and +3 defense. Alright, so if you were having a problem cooking with the Bejeweled Shrine and you were like, okay, well I want to run Bejeweled Shrine into my deck, but I have to make sure I see it, and then it being my opening hand, and I don't have to waste one play point in any of my plays, so I can get this amulet out that I do have to always like consist another play point into engaging it and then giving another follower +1/+1 that's either storm or ward or something like that. But now we have Topaz that's going to be just getting the card straight out of the deck, so maybe we can only include one of the Bejeweled Shrine and maybe 3 of this, just because this other fanfare to spend the extra 2 play points is going to make this follower a 6 defense, by the way, with a 3/6, which is going to be pretty helpful. Alright, looking at the Swordian Evolve, so it turns into a 3/4 and it still has ward, but when you evolve it, you select an enemy follower that has 3 defense or less on the field and destroy it. And there are some certain instances where you're going to be pinging a follower for 1, or there's going to be a follower that has a huge effect on the entire game state that's going to have 3 or less defense. So being able to just evolve this follower and destroying it is nice, and then swinging it into another follower to get a 2-for-1 special if you need to. But I do want to take into the fact that this card is going to be very big if you spend all those play points. So being able to turn this into a 4/7 is pretty neat. Alrighty, next up we have Pure Song Priest, so it's a 7-cost 5/5. When he comes into play, you select a follower on your field and give it and your leader +4 defense. You can also quick and activate by using 1 play point to discard this card, and you give your leader +2 defense. Is that an Alana's Prayer trigger, I hear? I know anyone who is still rocking that deck or rocking a form of Alana's Prayer, trust me, I'm still waiting for that list and that amulet to really cook. I wish we had a card that was just like Topaz Swordian that could go ahead and get Alana's Prayer out of your deck to activate it. But, you know, we're not that far in the future, so, you know, my hands are still clasped together and praying. But just being able to trigger this for 1 play point and quick timing is very nice to give your leader the +2 defense. And then along with Alana's Prayer, buffing up your entire board is very nice. Alright, so here we are with the Wheel of Misfortune. So it's a 2-cost amulet. So when it comes into play, if there is a number 10 Solace Wheel of Fortune on your field, put up to 2 disaster counters on this card. You can also activate to engage this card to put a disaster counter on this card. You can also activate to engage this card and bury this card and destroy each enemy follower on the field that cost X play points. X equals the number of disaster counters on this card. Am I bugging, or I just feel like this card should be just doing more? Like, if I'm engaging to put disaster counters, if I have 7 disaster counters, which, you know, if we're playing Havencraft, that's not a crazy number to get because they do love to stall. So having X being 7, you can't destroy anything 7 or less. You have to destroy everything that costs 7, which, you know, it's kind of weird. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, because I know you guys love to do that, and I appreciate everyone just spreading the correct information, because that's what I want to do when giving out these videos, is just to have these information correct. But not being able to destroy everything on the field just really hurts, especially if they're playing the Arcana. And I know so far all the Arcana stuff does kind of seem okay. I don't want to really call it mid. I just think it's okay for what we've seen so far. And I think Havencraft doesn't really have anything going for it in the Arcana wise, but these cards are very nice, I will say. But I think more of this set is going to be support for the Storm and Ward stuff. But being able to get the Solace out and, you know, having cards in your EX area being played, you know, you're just destroying something and then you play this, you get those disaster counters. So if they do play anything that's really scary, I can see how you can just generate counters and you're like, okay, this is the deck that I'm afraid of. I know what's their biggest card that's going to be weird. If they're not running the amulet removal, then this is a card to just have on board to just generate value, and you know that they're going to play their big boss monster, so you go ahead and just generate all the value that you can on this card, getting up to maybe, you know, 10 if you need to, which, granted, that's the longest game of Shadowverse Evolve that might be out there if you're going to be getting up to 10 disaster counters. But, you know, if there's something that's like maybe like 5, I can understand how you can like get to that point, but I think this is a pretty decent card, but it is going to be very weird running it. Alright, but looking into Priestess of Foresight, so she's a 7-cost 3/6. You can evolve for 1 and she has ward. And when she comes into play, you search your deck for an Arcana follower that costs 4 or less, summon it, and then shuffle your deck. Yeah, so I'm glad I read the text too, because I was looking and I was like, this is a 7-cost that's a 3/6. These stats better be better, but you get a 2-for-1 here, and any Arcana follower that costs 4 or less, you can go ahead and summon it. They can get their fanfare effects, so if you're just running the Arcana deck, and you know you just run out of steam, and of course we get into the late game, so playing this for 7 is going to get an Arcana follower. They get their fanfares, you have a ward, and then you can still evolve this follower if you need to. Alright, looking at Foresight Evolve, so she turns into a 4/7, and on evolve you select with the 2 enemy followers on the field and you destroy them. All right, there we go, the hard removal. So if you are in the late game and your opponent has played 2 boss monsters that you really don't know how to handle, this is a very good card to answer with, just because you're going to get 2 cards of yourself, and then you get to evolve along with it to go ahead and destroy those 2 cards as well. Alright, next up we have Azurite Maiden. So she's a 2-cost 2/3. She has Ward, when she comes into play, you can spend 1 extra play point to select a Faith Follower in your cemetery, put it into your EX area, and you give it +1 attack. Alright, so I do want to point out that there are a lot of like gem type of followers for Havencraft. Is there like a gem deck that they're really, spacing up for? Because I really do like that we had like the, the Emerald Maiden. I think she was like an Emerald Maiden. We had an Emerald Maiden, now we have Azurite Maiden, or whatever these different diamonds are called. I really do appreciate that they're all type of like crystals and stuff like that. So if that is something that is going to be like a full-on deck, I might be really interested in it. But getting into this ability, I think this is going to be very helpful in the Storm Ward variant of Haven. I think this is getting a lot of toys. I think set 10 is going to be very interesting for Ward Haven if you're going to be rocking it. If you're rocking the Storm Ward variant, that's even better too, because you have lots of toys to play with here. Just being able to get cards out of your EX area to go ahead and replay them, they get their fanfares. And then with this Azurite Maiden, they're going to get the +1 attack, get their fanfares, and then, they're probably going to either have Storm or Ward themselves. Alrighty, next up we have Prismaplume Bird. So it's a 4-cost 2/2. When it comes into play, you can choose one of the following. You can either 1, summon a Holy Falcon token, or 2, select an amulet in your cemetery and add it to your hand. Alright, so I like how it also revolves around either Storm if you need it to, or if you're rocking an amulet build, you can get something out of the cemetery if you need something back. Alrighty, next up we have Stalwart Featherfolk. So he's a 1-cost 2/2. He has Ward, but when he comes into play, you can spend an extra 2 play points to give this follower +1/+1 and Storm. So initially, this card is just a Goblin with Ward, which is very nice, but if you spend a total of 3 play points, you can turn this into a 3/3 with Storm, which does help in the Storm or Ward variant of Haven. Alrighty, and lastly, we have Holy Bright Altar. So it's a 2-cost amulet. When it comes into play, you summon a Holy Tiger token, and you give it the following effect. At the start of your end phase, destroy this card. You can also activate for 3 play points to bury this card, and you select a follower on your field and give your leader +X defense. X equals the cost of the selected follower. Alright, so for a total of 5 play points, you're going to be summoning a Holy Tiger, which will be destroying itself at the end phase. And then on top of that, using the 3 play points, we'll be burying this card, and you can choose the Holy Tiger to get the +4 defense if you need to. I can only imagine what this card is going to look like if you have Heavenly Aegis on the field, because goodness gracious, that would be scary. Alright, so if you are a Haven enjoyer, you're going to be eating very nicely this set as well with the box toppers and your URs. So we have the Marwyn leader and we have the Marquette leader, which I don't remember which set. I think in set 9, that's when she was supposed to come out. Can't see it too properly from here, but if you guys can see the bottom left text, then you'll know exactly. But having the Marwyn and Marquette leader are the things that you can be getting off of your box topper is pretty nice. And then of course with their UR, we have the Sophenia. If you're going to be looking forward to that, having your followers not take more than 3 damage a turn is very helpful, but I don't know how apparent that deck might be or what the deck really goes in. Just her having the ward is pretty cool as well, and then your opponent's not being able to swing more than 3 damage or deal more than 3 damage to your followers is very nice, especially when they have a big 5 defense line. Alright soldiers, and that is all of the cards for set 10 Havencraft. I'm very excited to talk about more of this stuff later on. So I do want to give an announcement that we are going to be changing up the schedule here. So of course we're going to be doing our post when we can during the week. But on the weekends, we have our webcam locals that are on Saturday and Sunday now. I'm going to be trying to put an ad for them in the videos as best as I can. I know I'm a very busy person, but we get together and we play webcam locals on Saturdays and Sundays now, because now people had a problem coming on Sunday because Sunday wasn't a good day for them. But Saturday is a day that some people can really get there, and if you're able to come out, I'll put all the details in like future videos. And yes, we're gonna have the webcam locals videos coming back, because I know some people were like, what happened to webcam locals and stuff like that. But we're gonna get onto the ground of Shadowverse Evolved because we love this game and we're gonna keep the support going for it. But alright soldiers, thank you so much for watching the video. I appreciate and love you all. I missed you very much, and I'm glad that I was able to get a Saturday video out. Please keep a lookout for the weekend question. I should have it out this weekend. If I didn't, then I was just a lazy Bob. I'm sorry, but I have questions for you all. I want to know how you all are doing. I think the weekend question is just a good way to just really talk with you all, just, get a good insight of where the game's at. I really should have got on top of, how did everyone feel about the accelerated, schedule and everything, but someone already beat me to the chase of that. And I kind of was just like kind of lurking in the post on Reddit and stuff like that. But you know how it goes. But all right, soldiers, make sure you are safe in whatever you do tonight and safe whatever you do for the rest of the year. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Yeah. TRINN. Just to get you away. What I got to do. What I got to do. Just to get you away. What I got to do.